The Lantern in the Forest Part 1. The gift. There once was a boy named Elliot who lived in a quiet village tucked between the mountains and the forest. It was the kind of place where days moved slowly, and the wind often carried stories from long ago. Elliot was a curious child. While other boys played games in the field, he preferred wandering along forest paths, listening to birds, and chasing the way light filtered through leaves. On his 12th birthday, Elliot's grandmother gave him something unexpected, an old bronze lantern. It was slightly dented, with a handle that squeaked and glass panes that had grown foggy with time. "This belonged to your grandfather," she said gently. "He used it when he traveled through the forest." Said it lit the path not just through the woods, but through questions. Elliot raised an eyebrow. Questions? His grandmother smiled. He believed some answers aren't written in books. Sometimes you have to walk through the world and let it speak to you. Elliot held the lantern carefully. It didn't look magical, but it felt important. Part 2. The Flame and the Wind. That night, Elliot couldn't sleep. The wind tapped at his window like a gentle knock. He stared at the lantern beside his bed. Something about it called to him. Without fully knowing why, he lit it. The flame was soft at first, barely more than a flicker. But as soon as it caught, it pulsed like a heartbeat. Then, a sudden gust of wind blew through the cracks of his window. The flame leaned forward, pointing, almost as if it wanted to go somewhere. Elliot stood up, pulled on his coat and boots, and quietly stepped outside. The lantern glowed warmly in his hand, casting a soft circle of light around him. And so he began to walk into the forest he thought he knew so well. Part 3. The path that wasn't there. The forest at night was different. Not frightening, but vast and aware. Trees swayed slowly, as though nodding at his presence. The lantern flickered and flared with every step, guiding him deeper. He passed a patch of glowing mushrooms, saw a fox curl beneath a hollow tree. He even heard what sounded like soft humming. No one in sight, just the wind threading through branches. He wasn't following a trail. In fact, there didn't seem to be a path at all. Yet, the lantern always showed him where to step next, over rocks, across roots, and through narrow gaps in the trees. It was like the forest was letting him through. Part 4. The Watchers. At some point, Elliot realized he wasn't alone. Small creatures watched him from the shadows. Not dangerous ones, but silent, curious. A pair of glowing eyes blinked from a tree. Tiny paws scampered beneath leaves. He paused at a clearing where the moonlight poured down like silver rain. There, nestled among roots, was a tiny carved wooden figure, a bear holding a fish. He picked it up. On the bottom, it read, "Stories stay where they are loved." He put it back carefully. The lantern's flame flared again. Part 5. The Listening Tree. Eventually, the forest opened into a wide, silent glade. At the center stood a massive tree, so tall its top was swallowed by mist. At its base was a bench. Carved into its bark were words, "Sit and listen." So Elliot sat. The lantern dimmed, and a deep quiet settled over him. Then came a low hum, so faint he almost thought he imagined it. But slowly it grew. He heard voices like old echoes, a child laughing by a stream, a traveler telling a tale beside a fire, an old woman singing a lullaby into the wind. They weren't ghosts. They were memories, the forest memories. And within them, Elliot heard something meant for him. Ask your questions, even the quiet ones, especially the quiet ones. The world is always answering. Tears welled in his eyes, not from sadness, but from something deeper. Recognition, belonging. Part 6. The Return. By the time the flame flickered once more, dawn was stretching over the trees. The lantern dimmed on its own, as if saying, "That's enough for now." Elliot stood, nodded to the tree, and made his way home. Somehow, the way felt shorter, though he was sure he'd